Welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass. We are so glad you decided to hang out with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are new here, our whole mission is basically to be those well-traveled experts who have actually lived the experiences we talk about. We want to share every single detail with you.
Exactly. We really want it to feel like you are right there, living the experience while you listen. Like we're just sitting across from you at a cafe, helping you plan your itinerary.
Right, and we always try to anticipate all your objections and doubts before you even pack your bags. We do the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
And while we might make a few bad jokes along the way, too.
Oh, definitely. More than a few.
So today's deep dive is, the big one. We are unpacking the Museo Nacional Centro de Arte Reina Sofia in Madrid.
Oh, the Reina Sofia. It is an incredible institution, just full of absolute brilliance.
It is. But, it's also full of a startling amount of contradiction.
Yeah, that is putting it mildly.
Right. Like, imagine standing in front of the most famous anti-war, anti-fascist painting in human history. You're having this profound, deeply emotional moment, taking in this monumental act of artistic rebellion.
I can picture it.
And then out of nowhere, a security guard just screams at you for stepping like an inch too close to some invisible line on the floor.
It's so jarring, but honestly, that is a very real scenario there.
It really is. So we are digging into a huge stack of traveler reviews, art history analyses, and logistical guides to figure out how to actually experience this world-class modern art museum without completely losing your mind.
Because it is notoriously complicated to visit. Like, if you walk into the Reina Sofia completely blind, expecting this breezy romantic stroll through the galleries, well, the friction of the experience will probably just chew you up.
Totally. So the goal today is to strip away that friction.
Right. We're going to deconstruct the heavy-hitting masterpieces you simply cannot miss and examine the historical scaffolding that makes them actually matter.
And we're also going to prepare you for a set of internal museum rules that border on the authoritarian. It is wild.
It is. But we'll also look at a specific workaround that keeps popping up in the source material, a private tour strategy that acts as a buffer between you and all that museum chaos.
I love a good cheat code. But before we get into the profound meaning of early 20th century Spanish art, I feel like we have to start with a huge logistical hurdle that absolutely dominates the traveler reviews.
Oh, you mean actually finding the art?
Yes. Where actually is the art?
Yeah.
Because, looking at the blueprints and reading the recent visitor feedback, half the museum seems to be a ghost town.
Yeah, the layout is currently the single biggest point of confusion for visitors, hands down.
People are genuinely lost in there.
They are. So let's give you an immediate reality check. The museum is split into different wings. You have the older Sabatini building and the modern Nouvelle building.
Okay, so two main buildings.
Right. But right now, access to the Nouvelle building is entirely closed off.
Wait, entirely?
Entirely. And furthermore, within the Sabatini building, the whole third floor is shut down for renovations.
Oh, wow. For how long?
Until 2027.
Are you kidding? So wait, if I am paying full price for a ticket to a world-renowned national museum, a massive chunk of the real estate is just inaccessible.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can completely see why travelers are leaving frustrated reviews. That feels like booting up a video game you just bought, only to find out the developers randomly lock half the levels.
That is a great analogy. It does feel super restrictive if your goal is just to, consume as much square footage as possible.
Right, checking boxes.
Exactly. But if we look at the psychology of how humans actually process art, this limitation is arguably a massive benefit for you.
A benefit, really?
Yeah. So the only floors you need to navigate are 0, 1, 2, and 4 in the Sabatini building. That's where the permanent collection is concentrated right now.
Okay, 0, 1, 2, and 4.
Right. And by having a restricted footprint, the museum is essentially saving you from yourself.
Oh, saving you from museum fatigue, you mean?
Precisely. Think about it. In a city like Madrid, you have likely already spent 4 hours wandering the sprawling corridors of the Prado.
Oh, totally. Your feet are already killing you.
Right. And if you try to consume thousands of modern art pieces in one afternoon, your brain just hits a saturation point. The art literally stops registering.
Yeah, it all just becomes a blur of colors.
Exactly. So the current closed-off layout actually curates the visit for you. It shifts your mental framework from that impossible task of seeing everything to the highly achievable goal of absorbing the heavy hitters with real focus.
Okay, I can actually appreciate the forced curation, especially because, the heavy hitters we are talking about demand a lot of emotional energy.
They really do. They are not light viewing.
Let's talk about the undisputed anchor of the Reina Sofia. It's located on floor 2, right?
Yes, floor 2.
Pablo Picasso's Guernica. I mean, reviewers consistently note that nothing prepares you for the sheer scale of it.
No, pictures do not do it justice. It's roughly 11 feet tall and 25 feet wide.
That is just massive. But people also describe it as emotionally exhausting. Like one traveler specifically mentioned it made their chest physically ache.
I believe it.
Why does this specific arrangement of shapes hit people so incredibly hard? I mean, what is happening there?
Well, to understand the mechanism of why it hurts to look at, you really have to understand the specific window of time in which it was created.
Because it wasn't just some abstract exercise for Picasso, right?
Not at all. We have to look at the backdrop of the Second Republic in Spain during the 1930s.
Right. And just to be clear for our listeners, we're just impartially looking at the historical facts the sources lay out here to give context to the painting.
Exactly. So the Second Republic was this brief, highly contested window of progressive democracy in Spain, but it quickly fractured, which led to the brutal Spanish Civil War.
Right.
On one side, you had the Republican government, and on the other side, the nationalist forces led by General Francisco Franco.
And it was actually the Republican government that commissioned the painting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They asked Picasso to create a mural for the 1937 World's Fair in Paris.
They did, yeah. They really wanted a piece that would draw international attention to their cause. But Picasso, he actually lacked inspiration for a while.
Really?
He didn't know what to paint. Yeah, until April of 1937. That was when Franco allowed German and Italian warplanes to bomb the small Basque town of Guernica.
Oh, wow.
It was an unprecedented, horrific carpet bombing of a civilian population. It was just devastating.
But Picasso wasn't actually there, right? He was living in Paris.
Correct. He didn't witness it firsthand. He read about it in a French newspaper, L'Humanité, and saw these stark black and white photographs of the devastation.
Which explains the color palette, or I guess the total lack of color.
Exactly.
Because whenever I see Guernica, I always find myself wondering why a painting about a violent massacre doesn't use a single drop of red. It is entirely black, white, and varying shades of gray.
Right, and that absence of color is the exact mechanism that makes it so haunting.
How so?
Picasso deliberately stripped away the color to mimic the visual language of the newspaper where he learned of the tragedy. He's forcing you to process the painting not as some romanticized historical portrait, but as an immediate, visceral news report.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly powerful.
It is. The gray tones evoke the ash of the bombed city, and when you stand in front of it, your eye is just constantly darting around the chaotic composition.
Yeah, there's the screaming horse,
Yes.
the grieving mother, the dismembered soldier.
Right. There is literally nowhere for your eye to rest, which brilliantly simulates the panic and disorientation of an air raid.
That makes so much sense. There's also that glaring light bulb at the top of the painting that looks almost like an eye. What is that about?
Oh, the light bulb is a fascinating detail. So in Spanish, the word for bulb is bombilla,
Okay.
which sounds incredibly close to bomba, meaning bomb.
No way. That is
Wow.
brilliant.
Right. It acts as an evil eye, the flash of the explosion, and a symbol of modern technology being twisted into a tool for mass destruction. Picasso uses cubism to fracture the subjects, literally showing you the shattering of human lives.
Man, it is heavy. It really requires you to confront the bleakness of the event head on.
It demands your full attention.
But then you walk into another gallery on that exact same floor, and the atmosphere just entirely shifts.
Oh, yeah, like night and day.
A lot of traveler reviews mention that while they originally came for Guernica, the Salvador Dali exhibits totally stole the show and stopped them in their tracks.
The contrast is jarring. I mean, you move from the stark, monumental political weight of Picasso right into Dali's surreal, hyper-detailed dreamscapes.
Yeah, it's a completely different vibe.
It is. Dali's work from this era represents an entirely different response to a world that honestly felt like it was losing its mind.
I have always struggled to articulate what makes Dali so captivating. I think the best analogy I can come up with is that looking at a Dali is like trying to remember a dream the exact second you wake up.
That is a really good way to put it.
Right, like every individual object is painted with this intense photographic realism. A clock, a tree, a face. But the physics governing those objects are completely broken.
That analogy perfectly captures Dali's intention. He called his approach the paranoid critical method.
The paranoid critical method.
Yeah. He was heavily influenced by Sigmund Freud and the emerging field of psychoanalysis. So Dali intentionally tried to tap into his own subconscious, essentially inducing a paranoid state to bypass his rational brain.
Wait, he was intentionally making himself paranoid just to paint.
He was. He was cultivating a state where he could link completely unrelated objects and irrational fears into a cohesive image.
That is wild.
And what makes his work so arresting is the technique. He paints these irrational subconscious nightmares using the precise, meticulous brushstrokes of a Renaissance master.
Oh, totally. Like when you look at pieces like The Great Masturbator or his melting clocks, the realism of the texture just tricks your brain into accepting the impossible scene as reality.
Exactly. It is a brilliant reflection of an era where the rational world order was entirely breaking down.
And then you have artists like Dali and Miro on the same floor, who are responding to this era with a totally different mechanism.
Oh, Miro. He famously declared he wanted to assassinate painting.
Assassinate painting. That is quite a statement.
He was serious. He wanted to destroy traditional bourgeois art forms entirely. So he used bold primary colors and abstract, almost childlike shapes. It was a complete anti-establishment rejection of the rigid rules that had governed art and society for centuries.
Which brings us to the most incredible irony of this entire deep dive.
The rules.
Yes. These artists, Picasso, Dali, Miro, they are champions of anti-authoritarianism. They are breaking the rules of physics, assassinating traditional art forms, and condemning fascist dictatorships.
Absolutely.
But to view this liberating, rebellious art, you have to navigate an environment that traveler reviews describe as intensely, rigidly authoritarian.
The friction between the art on the walls and the culture on the floor of the museum is a massive theme in the visitor feedback. It's almost comical.
It really is. So let's look at the reality of walking into this institution today. Because before you even scan your ticket, you might encounter a protest outside.
Right. Multiple sources mention active protests right outside the main entrance.
Yeah, by fired museum staff members demanding better working conditions.
Which is just a surreal juxtaposition, right? Striking workers standing outside a multi-million-dollar institution that houses art dedicated to the struggles of the working class.
It immediately sets a tense tone before you even walk through the doors.
And once you pass security, that tension does not dissipate.
Not at all. The internal rules enforced by the museum guards are, according to a vast number of reviews, uncompromising and often inconsistently applied. Okay, we have to talk about the water bottle embargo because it is genuinely wild.
Oh, the water bottles. This is a huge pain point.
We know Madrid is hot.
Hmm.
You are going to be walking around for hours. You will probably have a water bottle on you.
Of course you will.
Most museums globally just ask you to keep it in your bag or stow it in a locker to protect the art from spills.
Which is completely standard archival protection. Everyone understands that.
But the Reina Sofia enforces a zero-tolerance policy that honestly defies logic. You cannot bring a water bottle into the galleries.
Well,
you cannot put it in the rented lockers.
right even there.
You cannot even carry an empty plastic bottle inside. Security forces you to throw it in the trash bin before entering.
It's so intense, and reviewers are furious about this.
I would be too.
They note the massive, unnecessary waste of plastic, especially for families traveling with kids who are forced to toss their reusable bottles.
It's insane. The complete refusal to allow secure storage for water bottles is a uniquely rigid policy. It catches so many visitors completely off guard because it actively works against the standard museum experience anywhere else in the world.
Right, and the friction just compounds from there.
Oh, yeah. Like you are not allowed to sit on the floor anywhere to rest your legs or contemplate a piece.
Do not even try it.
And if you hit a wall of exhaustion and need a coffee to recharge, you cannot just hop into a courtyard cafe. You have to completely exit the museum, go find a coffee on the street, and then deal with the hassle of re-entry.
Which nobody wants to do.
Nobody. But the absolute peak of traveler frustration is what I am calling the invisible force field.
Ah, the 1 meter rule.
It sounds like a psychological experiment. Security guards demand that you stay at least 1 meter away from the canvas at all times.
Which sounds reasonable in theory.
In theory. But there is no tape on the marble floor. There are no velvet ropes. You are just trying to guess what a meter looks like while backing away from a painting.
Exactly.
If you lean in just a little too close to admire one of those hyper-realistic Dali brushstrokes we just talked about, a guard will loudly reprimand you.
Yeah, one reviewer detailed an experience where they tried to play it safe by standing exactly in line with a guided Japanese tour group.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. They figured the group leader knew the safe distance. But the reviewer still got jumped on by a security guard who decided they had crossed the invisible threshold.
It is like playing the most intense, high-stakes game of Simon Says, but nobody bothered to tell you the rules.
It really
It
is.
completely snaps you out of the emotional connection to the art. You were trying to process the tragedy of Guernica, but your brain is spending 50% of its processing power worrying about where the tip of your shoe is planted.
It's exhausting.
So I have to ask, how is a traveler supposed to overcome this hostility? I mean, is the art actually worth dealing with this level of policing?
Look, the art is absolutely worth it. It's world class. But your frustration is completely valid. The institutional mindset at the Reina Sofia right now prioritizes strict security over visitor hospitality.
Clearly.
And if you try to fight that reality, it will ruin your afternoon. The key to overcoming it is preparation, which is exactly why our source material highlights a specific strategy travelers are using to bypass this stress.
Okay, yes. You are talking about bringing in a local expert, specifically the Reina Sofia Museum private art tour found on ExcursionPass.
Exactly. When we analyze how visitors successfully navigate this museum without burning out, private guided tours consistently emerge as the most effective solution.
Okay, tell me more about this specific tour.
So the one detailed in our sources is a 2.5-hour private visit. It starts from €129 per participant, and it includes skip-the-line entry handling.
All right, I am going to push back on this a little bit because I am looking at the museum's pricing structure right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
The Reina Sofia actually offers free entry hours on certain evenings. So if I can technically get into the building for free, why on earth would I pay over €100 for someone to walk around with me? I mean, I can read the informational plaques next to the paintings myself.
That is a totally fair objection, but it kind of misunderstands the function of the guide in this specific museum.
Okay, how so?
Reading a plaque gives you the title, the medium, like oil on canvas 1937 and maybe a brief paragraph. It is flat data.
Fair enough.
What a private guide provides is the historical scaffolding. They walk you through the timeline of the Spanish Civil War as you move down the hall, building the narrative tension before you even turn the corner to see Guernica.
Oh, I see. So it is the difference between reading a Wikipedia plot summary of a film versus sitting in a theater watching it while the director leans over and explains all the hidden subtext.
Precisely. The guide connects the dots between Picasso's political rage, Dali's subconscious escapes, and Miro's artistic rebellion.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it is crucial to note, based on the tour outlines, that these guides are not there to preach a specific political ideology about the Spanish Civil War.
Right, which we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. They impartially report on the historical events, the Republic, the dictatorship, the bombing, just to explain why the artists were driven to create these specific works.
They provide the context, not a political rally.
Right. And because it is a private tour, the guide adapts to your pace.
Oh, that's a huge perk.
It is. If you want to spend 20 minutes unpacking the paranoia critical method in front of a Dali and then completely skip the conceptual art on the fourth floor, they pivot the itinerary for you.
Okay, I can definitely see the value in the education. But what about the invisible force field? Does paying for a guide actually solve the problem of the screaming security guards and the water bottle embargo?
It actually does act as a highly effective buffer.
Really?
Yeah. A professional guide knows exactly which floors are closed, preventing you from wandering into dead ends. They handle the ticket logistics, shielding you from the entry friction.
Nice.
But most importantly, the security guards inside generally defer to accredited professional guides.
Oh, interesting.
The guide knows exactly where the invisible 1-meter line is. They position you correctly. So by having a local professional leading the way, you effectively neutralize the institutional strictness. It allows your brain to drop the anxiety and focus entirely on the art.
Wow. So you are essentially paying for a protective bubble of context and peace of mind. It takes a hostile environment and turns it back into a place of discovery.
Exactly. It is an investment in your own endurance.
I love that. So let's distill all of this down for our listeners.
Yeah.
What is the ultimate survival guide for tackling the Reina Sofia?
Okay, first, master the layout before you arrive. You are only concerned with the Sabatini building, floors 0, 1, 2, and 4. Embrace the fact that the rest is closed and use it to curate your focus and prevent museum fatigue.
Perfect. Second, prepare your body for the logistical quirks. Hydrate heavily before you get in line because your water bottle is going in the trash at security.
Yes, do not bring it inside.
And accept that you will be standing and that coffee breaks require leaving the building.
And third, deeply consider utilizing a private guide, like the ExcursionPass tour, to handle the friction. Having an expert contextualize the heavy history of the 1930s transforms a stressful walk through a police gallery into an incredibly gripping narrative.
It takes it from a frustrating logistical puzzle to a profound historical experience. I think that is great advice.
It really changes everything.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something that isn't written on any of the museum plaques, but naturally emerges when you look at the big picture of what we've discussed today.
Right. Think about the core nature of the masterpieces we've explored.
Okay.
This museum is a shrine to deeply revolutionary anti-authoritarian expression. Picasso, Miro, and Dali, they were pushing boundaries, responding to the rise of dictatorships and demanding radical freedom of thought. The art itself is wildly rebellious.
It is art that completely refuses to follow the rules.
Exactly. Yet to physically stand in front of this liberating art, you must subject yourself to a rigid, uncompromising, almost authoritarian set of rules.
It's so true. You are stripped of your water, denied a place to sit, constantly monitored and barked at for crossing invisible lines by a vigilant security force.
It is a stunning paradox.
So the provocative question we leave you with is this. Does experiencing such revolutionary anti-fascist art inside such a highly policed, rigidly controlled environment fundamentally change how we perceive the artwork?
Does the strictness of the museum dilute the rebellious message of the artists?
Or does feeling the weight of that authority on your own shoulders actually make the cry for freedom in Guernica resonate even louder?
Wow. Does the hostility of the room actually amplify the power of the painting?
That is exactly the kind of question that elevates travel from just seeing a famous object to actually feeling its impact.
Yeah.
We would love for you to think about that dynamic when you are finally standing on that marble floor staring up at Picasso's masterpiece.
It is a lot to think about.
It sure is. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the Reina Sofia.
It has been a fascinating exploration. Keep questioning what you see, and safe travels.
We will catch you on the next deep dive where we take another stack of sources and extract the hidden secrets you need to know. See you next time.